The metal box felt heavier than Sarah remembered. 20 years ago, when she and Maya had buried it beneath the old oak tree in Riverside Park, it had seemed so light, filled with nothing but dreams and promises wrapped in childhood innocence. Now, as she knelt alone in the dirt, her knees pressing into the damp earth, the weight of it threatened to crush her entirely. The park had changed. The playground where they'd spent countless summer afternoons had been renovated twice over. The swings where they'd tried to touch the sky with their feet were gone, replaced by some modern equipment that looked nothing like the rusted chains of their youth. But the oak tree remained, steadfast and ancient, its branches reaching toward a sky that had turned the color of old photographs, faded, slightly yellow, distant. Sarah's hands trembled as she brushed the dirt from the box's surface. They had painted it together, she remembered. Maya had insisted on purple, her favorite color, while Sarah had wanted blue. They'd compromised with both, creating swirls and patterns that had seemed so artistic at the time, but now just looked like the fumbling attempts of two 13-year-old girls trying to make something permanent in a world that promised them forever. "I'm here," Sarah whispered to the silence. "I'm here, just like we promised." But Maya wasn't. The funeral had been 6 months ago. 6 months, and Sarah still reached for her phone a dozen times a day to text her best friend, only to remember mid-thought that there would be no reply. No laughing emoji. No voice memo of Maya singing off-key to whatever song was stuck in her head. No midnight calls that started with "You're not going to believe what just happened." Just silence. Sarah had thought about not coming. For weeks leading up to today, October 19th, the day they'd chosen because it was exactly halfway between both their birthdays, she had considered letting the box stay buried. Some promises, she'd told herself, were made by children who didn't understand that forever was a luxury, not a guarantee. But she'd come anyway. Because Maya would have wanted her to. Because somewhere in the last 20 years, between college and careers, between relationships and relocations, between all the moments that had pulled them into different orbits, this promise had remained the one constant. The one thing they'd never rescheduled or forgotten or let slip away. Until cancer had made the choice for them. The lock on the box was rusted, and Sarah had to work at it with the key she'd kept on her keychain for 2 decades. How many times had she looked at that small brass key and smiled, thinking about this day? How many times had she imagined the two of them sitting here together, laughing at their younger selves, marveling at how much they'd changed and how much had stayed the same? The lock clicked open. Sarah sat back on her heels, suddenly unwilling to lift the lid. Once she opened it, she would have to face whatever was inside, face it alone. And there was something so final about that, something that made Maya's absence feel less like a temporary separation and more like a vast, unbridgeable chasm. "I miss you," she said to the tree, to the sky, to whatever part of Maya might still be listening. "I miss you so much it feels like I can't breathe sometimes." A breeze stirred through the branches above, and for just a moment, Sarah could almost hear Maya's voice. "Then stop holding your breath, dummy. Open it." Sarah smiled despite the tears streaming down her face. That sounded exactly like something Maya would say. She lifted the lid. The smell hit her first, musty paper, old fabric, the particular scent of time itself. Inside, wrapped in a purple bandana that Maya had worn constantly that summer, were their treasures. Sarah lifted each item carefully, as if they were made of something more fragile than memory. A friendship bracelet, faded and frayed, that they'd made at summer camp. A photograph of them at Sarah's 13th birthday party, chocolate cake smeared on both their faces, arms thrown around each other like they were the only two people in the world who mattered. A mixtape, an actual cassette tape that they'd spent hours creating, recording songs off the radio and adding their own commentary between tracks. Movie ticket stubs from every film they'd seen together that year. A menu from Giuseppe's, the Italian restaurant where they'd celebrated getting into the same high school. Letters. So many letters written to their future selves, sealed in envelopes marked "Do not open until October 19th, 2025. Sarah's hands shook as she reached for them. There were 2 addressed to future Sarah in Maya's looping handwriting and 2 addressed to future Maya in Sarah's more careful print. There was also a larger envelope marked "Open Together." Her breath caught. She'd forgotten about that one. They'd written it together, passing it back and forth, each adding lines without letting the other see. It was supposed to be a surprise for both of them. Sarah held all 3 envelopes in her lap, the 2 Maya had written and the one they'd created together. For a long moment, she just sat there, paralyzed by the impossibility of the choice before her. Maya's letters to herself were hers, private thoughts meant for a future that would never come. Sarah had no right to read them. But then again, Maya had no one else. Her parents had moved to Arizona years ago, and while they'd loved their daughter fiercely, they'd been too destroyed by grief to do more than survive. Maya's brother had taken all her important documents, her legal papers, but these belonged to a different kind of family. The family you choose. The family built on scraped knees and shared secrets and promises made under old oak trees. Sarah opened the first envelope addressed to future Sarah. Dear future Sarah, who is probably old now, like 33. So ancient. Hi. It's me. Well, it's you. No, wait, it's me writing to you. This is confusing. Anyway, it's Maya from the past. From 2005, when we're 13 and think we know everything, but actually know nothing. I'm writing this after you left my house today. We spent all afternoon planning this time capsule thing, and I'm so excited I can barely sit still. Mom keeps telling me to stop bouncing on my bed, but I can't. We're going to be 33 when we read this. Can you even imagine? I wonder what you look like now. Do you still have that scar on your knee from when we crashed our bikes in 7th grade? Do you still hate mushrooms? Are you married? Oh my God, do you have kids? Are we aunts to each other's kids like we planned? Here's what I hope for you, Sarah. I hope you're happy. Like, really happy. Not just everything is fine, happy, but the kind of happy that makes your whole body feel light. I hope you did all the things we talked about. I hope you traveled to Paris like you always wanted. I hope you became a writer, because you're so good at writing, even if you don't believe me when I tell you. I hope we're still best friends. I know that seems like a weird thing to say, because of course we will be, but Mom told me that sometimes people grow apart and I got scared. She said life takes people in different directions. But I don't think that will happen to us. We're going to be friends forever, Sarah. I know it in my bones. Here's a secret. Sometimes I get worried that I'm not a good enough friend to you. Like, you're so smart and so kind, and sometimes I feel like I'm just the loud, messy one who gets us into trouble. But then you do something like agree to this crazy time capsule idea, and I remember that you get me. You really, truly get me, in a way nobody else does. Promise me something, future Sarah. Promise me that no matter what has happened in the last 20 years, no matter where life has taken us, you'll remember that 13-year-old Sarah loved 13-year-old Maya, and that was enough. That will always be enough. I love you to the moon and back and all the way around the universe. Your best friend forever and ever. Maya. P.S. If you're reading this, and we had some stupid fight and aren't friends anymore, fix it. Seriously. Call me. I'm not even mad anymore. I don't care what it was about. Just call me. Sarah pressed the letter to her chest, her whole body shaking with sobs. The cruel irony of that postscript, the impossibility of fixing anything now, felt like a physical wound. She wanted to scream at 13-year-old Maya that she should have written more, should have said more, should have left behind a bigger piece of herself for the future that would come without her. But mostly, she wanted to tell her, we never fought. We never stopped being friends. You were wrong about nothing. After several minutes, when she could breathe again, Sarah reached for the second envelope. This one felt thicker, heavier. Dear future Sarah. It's me again. I'm writing this one a week after the first one, and I'm not supposed to, but I had to. I have to tell you something, and I can't present you because it's too scary and too big and too impossible. I'm in love with you. There. I said it. Or wrote it. Whatever. I know this is going to seem like it comes out of nowhere, but it doesn't. I think I've loved you since we were 10, and you punched Bobby Martinez for making fun of my hair. Or maybe since we were 11, and you stayed up all night with me when my grandma died, even though we had that big test the next day. Or maybe since always. Maybe since the first day of 6th grade when you sat next to me at lunch, when everyone else thought I was weird. I don't know when it happened, Sarah. I just know that when I think about the future, about being 33 and opening this time capsule, the only person I can imagine being truly happy with is you. But I'm terrified. What if you don't feel the same way? What if telling you ruins everything? You're my best friend, Sarah. You're my person. I can't lose you. I won't survive losing you. So I'm writing this letter that you won't read for 20 years, and I'm putting it in the time capsule, and maybe by then it won't matter anymore. Maybe I'll be married to some guy, and you'll be married to some other guy, and we'll laugh about this. Or maybe, and this is what I hope with every cell in my body, maybe by then I'll have been brave enough to tell you. Maybe we'll open this time capsule together, and you'll read this and roll your eyes and say, Maya, you idiot, I've loved you since we were 12, and everything will be perfect. Or maybe I'll never be brave enough. Maybe I'll spend the next 20 years loving you from exactly this distance, close enough to be your best friend, but too far away to be what I really want to be. I don't know what's going to happen, Sarah. But I needed to write it down. I needed there to be some version of the universe where I was honest with you, even if that universe only exists in this letter. If you're reading this and we're not together, if we're both married to other people, or if we drifted apart, or if something else happened, please know that loving you has been the best thing I've ever done. Please know that every single moment with you has been a gift, even if I never got to unwrap it the way I wanted to. And if you're reading this alone because something happened to me, God, this is morbid, but we promise to be honest in these letters. Please know that you made my life worth living. Every single day. You were my favorite person, my favorite part of every story, my favorite reason to wake up in the morning. I love you, Sarah. I love you, I love you, I love you. Forever yours, even if you never knew it. Maya. The letter slipped from Sarah's hands and fell into the dirt. She couldn't move, couldn't think, couldn't process the magnitude of what Maya had loved her. Not just as a friend, not just as a sister by choice, but loved her. The way Sarah had loved Maya since they were 15 years old, and she'd realized that the fluttering in her chest whenever Maya laughed wasn't just friendship. The way Sarah had loved her through college, through Maya's engagement to David, through Sarah's own string of relationships that never quite felt right because none of them were her. Sarah had never said anything. She'd been too scared, too worried about ruining what they had. She'd convinced herself that being Maya's best friend was enough, that she didn't need more, that wanting more was selfish. And Maya had felt the same way. For 20 years, they'd both been in love with each other. For 20 years, they'd both been too afraid to say it. And now Maya was gone, and all Sarah had were these letters, these ghosts of words that would never become real conversations. You idiot, Sarah whispered through her tears. You beautiful, wonderful, impossible idiot. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't I tell you? But she knew why. Fear. The same fear that stopped people from taking chances every single day. The fear of losing something precious by asking for more. The fear that love, real love, might not be enough. Sarah picked up the letter from the dirt and held it close, as if by pressing it against her heart, she could somehow send a message back through time. I loved you too. I love you still. I will love you always. There was still one envelope left. The one they'd written together, passing it back and forth during that last perfect afternoon before they buried the time capsule. Sarah almost didn't want to open it. Reading it would mean facing them both, the girls they'd been, the women they'd almost become together. But she owed it to Maya. She owed it to both of them. The envelope contained several pages, and Sarah could see where their handwriting alternated, Maya's enthusiastic loops giving way to Sarah's careful letters and back again. Dear future us. Sarah, okay, Maya made me start because she says I'm better with words, which is obviously true. Maya, that's because it is true. Anyway, future us, we have some very important questions for you. Sarah, did we stay best friends? Maya, that's a given, obviously. The real question is, are we rich yet? Sarah, Maya wants to know if we're rich. I want to know if we're happy. Maya, same thing. Sarah, not the same thing. Maya, fine, fine. Are we happy? Are we doing what we love? Did Sarah become a famous author? Sarah, I'm not going to be a famous author. Maya, yes you are. I'm manifesting it right now. Future Sarah, You better have published at least 3 books by now, or I'm going to be very disappointed in you. Sarah, did Maya become a photographer like she wants to? Maya, or a rock star? I'm keeping my options open. But probably a photographer because I'm actually good at that. Sarah, you're good at both. Maya, you're sweet. Okay, serious question time. What's the best thing that happened in the last 20 years? Sarah, and the worst? Maya, and did we get through the worst parts together? Sarah, I hope we did. I can't imagine going through hard things without you. Maya, same. You're stuck with me forever, Sarah Chen. Sarah, forever is a long time. Maya, not long enough. Sarah, here's what I want to tell our future selves. Be brave. Braver than we are now. Take chances. Say the things you're afraid to say. Maya, tell the people you love that you love them. Sarah, don't wait for the perfect moment. Maya, because there's no such thing as perfect. Sarah, just real. Maya, and real is better. Sarah, Maya's getting philosophical. Maya, it's your influence. Okay, last thing. Future us, if you're reading this together, like you're supposed to be, give each other a hug for us. Tell each other one thing you've never said before. Sarah, one true thing. Maya, the truest thing. Sarah, be honest. Maya, be brave. Sarah, be kind to each other. Maya, and if something happened and you're not together anymore, if life pulled you apart somehow. Sarah, find your way back. Maya, because some friendships are worth fighting for. Sarah, worth everything. Maya, we love you, future us. We believe in you. We're proud of you. Sarah, no matter what happened, no matter where you are, no matter who you became. Maya, you're loved. Sarah, you're loved. Maya, you will always be loved. Sarah and Maya, forever and always, your past selves. Sarah read the letter 3 times, then 4, then 5. Each time, new details emerged. The way their sentences had started to blend together toward the end, finishing each other's thoughts. The way they'd both known, somehow, even at 13, that what they had was special. The way they'd tried to prepare their future selves for every possibility except the one that had actually happened. The sun was setting now, painting the park in shades of amber and rose. Sarah carefully packed everything back into the metal box, everything except Maya's letters and the one they'd written together. Those she folded and put in her jacket pocket, right over her heart. She stood up slowly, her knees stiff from kneeling so long. The box sat at the base of the oak tree, and for a moment Sarah considered burying it again. But what would be the point? There was no future date to unearth it, no promise left to keep. Instead, she picked it up and carried it with her as she walked through the park. The playground was empty now, the swings moving slightly in the breeze. Sarah sat down on one of them, the box balanced on her lap, and let herself swing gently. This was where it had all started, really. Where she and Maya had met on the first day of 6th grade, both of them new to the neighborhood, both of them trying to figure out how to navigate middle school alone. They'd ended up on the swings next to each other, and Maya had said, "I bet I can swing higher than you," and Sarah had said, "Prove it," and just like that, they'd been inseparable. "I wish I'd been braver," Sarah said to the empty air. "I wish I'd told you. I wish we'd had more time." But they hadn't. And no amount of wishing would change that. Sarah pulled out her phone and opened her photos. She scrolled back through years of pictures, Maya smiling in hundreds of them. Maya at her college graduation. Maya at Sarah's book launch, because 13-year-old Maya had been right. Sarah had published 3 books, and Maya had been there for every single one. Maya at the beach, at concerts, at mundane Tuesday dinners that had meant everything. Maya in the hospital, near the end, looking so small in that bed, but still managing to smile when Sarah walked in. "You were right," Sarah whispered, looking at that last photo. "Real is better than perfect." And what we have was real. She thought about what 13-year-old Maya had asked in that final letter, tell each other one true thing. The truest thing. "I loved you," Sarah said, her voice stronger now. "I loved you the way you loved me, and I was too scared to say it. I thought we had time. I thought someday I'd be brave enough, and we'd have this perfect moment, and everything would work out like it does in stories." A family walked past, and Sarah waited until they were gone before continuing. But you were right. There's no such thing as perfect. There's just real. And the real truth is that I loved you every single day for 20 years, and I love you still, and I'll love you for every day I have left. That's the truest thing I know. The wind picked up again, rustling through the oak leaves, and Sarah could almost hear Maya's voice, finally. God, Sarah, you're so slow sometimes. I've been waiting 20 years for you to say that. Sarah laughed through her tears. Yeah, well, you could have told me first, you know. You had 2 chances in those letters. And waste the opportunity to make you sweat? Never. I miss you. I know. I miss you too. What am I supposed to do now? Live. Be brave. Tell the truest things. Keep your promises. I don't know if I can do that without you. Sure you can. You're Sarah Chen. You're the bravest person I know, even if you don't know it yet. Sarah sat on that swing until the streetlights came on and the park grew dark around her. When she finally stood up, her legs were numb and her face was stiff with dried tears, but something inside her felt different. Lighter, maybe. Or maybe just less alone. She carried the metal box home and placed it on her bookshelf, right next to the 3 books she'd published, the ones Maya had insisted she would write, even when Sarah hadn't believed in herself. The letters she kept in her nightstand drawer, where she could read them whenever she needed to feel close to Maya again. That night, Sarah opened her laptop and started writing. Not a novel this time, but something different. Something true. This is a story about love. Not the kind that gets its happy ending, not the kind that wraps up neatly with a bow. This is a story about the love that exists in the space between what was said and what wasn't, between courage and fear, between forever and the time we actually get. This is a story about 2 girls who made promises under an oak tree, and how one of them learned to keep those promises even after the other was gone. This is a story about grief and regret and all the words we should have said when we had the chance. But mostly, this is a story about how love doesn't end just because someone does. How the truest things remain true even when everything else changes. How some promises are kept in the living, not just in the remembering. This is a story about my best friend Maya and how she taught me to be brave. Sarah wrote through the night and into the morning, pouring 20 years of love and loss onto the page. She wrote about the time capsule, about the letters, about all the moments they'd shared and all the ones they'd never get to have. She wrote the words she'd never said out loud, the truest things she knew. And when she was finished, when the sun was rising on a new day and her fingers were cramped from typing, she saved the document with a simple title, The Unopened Half. Because that's what she had now, half of a conversation that would never be finished, half of a love story that had never quite begun. But half was better than nothing. Half was enough to build something from. Half was her promise to Maya that the story wasn't over, not really. That love, once spoken, doesn't disappear. It transforms. It becomes something new. Sarah opened her desk drawer and pulled out a fresh envelope. She printed her story, all 100 pages of it, and sealed them inside. Then she wrote on the front, for Maya. The truest thing I know. The next day, Sarah went back to the park. She stood at Maya's grave, which overlooked the river Maya had loved so much, and she read the entire story out loud. Every word. Every truth she'd been too afraid to speak when it mattered. When she was finished, she placed the envelope on the headstone, along with the purple bandana from the time capsule. I kept my promise, she said. I opened it. I was brave. I told the truest thing. The wind carried her words away, and Sarah imagined them finding Maya wherever she was now, beyond the oak tree, beyond the river, beyond the edge of the world they'd known together. Thank you, Sarah whispered. Thank you for loving me. Thank you for being my person. Thank you for 13 years of friendship and 20 years of love, even if we were too scared to call it that. She stood there for a long time, watching the river flow past, feeling the sun on her face. And slowly, so slowly she almost didn't notice, Sarah felt something shift inside her. Not healing, it was too soon for that, might always be too soon. But something like acceptance. Something like peace. Maya was gone. That would always be true, would always hurt. But she had been here. She had loved and been loved. She had left behind words and memories and a best friend who would carry her forward into all the tomorrows they'd never get to share. And that, Sarah realized, was its own kind of forever. She walked back through the park, past the oak tree where two 13-year-old girls had buried their dreams. She trailed her fingers along its bark, feeling the rough texture, the solidness of it. "I love you, Maya Rodriguez," Sarah said one more time. "I love you, I love you, I love you. And I'm not waiting 20 years to say it anymore." The tree stood silent and strong, and Sarah imagined it as a witness to all the promises made beneath its branches, the kept and the broken, the possible and the impossible. She imagined it would still be standing long after she was gone, holding space for other friendships, other loves, other truths too big to carry alone. And somehow, that was comforting. Sarah walked home with the sun warming her back, Maya's letters over her heart, and the truest thing she knew finally spoken into the world. Some loves are forever, even when forever is cut short. Some promises are kept in the living, not just in the remembering. And some friendships are so powerful, so true, that not even death can diminish them. This was that kind of love. This was that kind of promise. This was that kind of friendship. And Sarah would spend the rest of her life honoring it, being brave, speaking true, loving fully, the way she and Maya had always deserved. The way they still did. Forever and always.